It happens when you are most vulnerable. It is 3 a.m. You wake up, your eyes open, and you can see your room, the familiar chair, the window, the shadows on the wall. You try to roll over, but you can't. You try to lift your hand. It's dead weight. You try to scream, but no sound comes out. It feels like thousands of pounds of cement have been poured over your body. And then, the feeling changes. The air in the room gets cold. A deep primal alarm goes off in your brain. You are not alone. You sense a presence, a shadow in the corner. It moves closer. It climbs onto your bed, and then it sits right on your chest. This isn't a horror movie scene. If this has ever happened to you, you're not broken, and you're definitely not alone. This is a biological glitch that millions of people experience every year. Welcome to Sleep Paralysis. Today, on Belief Decoded, we are going to examine the legend of the night hag. We will travel from the villages of Japan to the jungles of Brazil to see how this belief changes its form across cultures. And finally, we will look inside your brain to see why your own body decides to lock you up and terrify you. First, let's look at the numbers. If you have felt this, you are part of a massive club. Studies show that nearly 8% of the general population will meet this demon at least once. Some studies suggest that in high-stress groups, that number can rise to nearly 30%. For centuries, before we had MRI machines, humans didn't call this a sleep disorder. They called it a spiritual attack. And what's fascinating is that the monster changes depending on where you live. In Japan, they call it Kanashibari. It literally means bound by metal. The Japanese believed that vengeful spirits or monks used dark magic to bind your body with invisible iron chains. In Turkey, it is the Karabasan, a dark, heavy jinn that comes at night to steal your breath. Legend says if you can manage to snatch his hat, he becomes your slave. But good luck moving your hand to grab it. But my favorite story comes from Brazil. There they tell the legend of the Pisadeira. She's described as a terrifying old crone with long, dirty fingernails, red eyes, and a cackle that sounds like a scream. She hides on the rooftops, waiting. And who does she attack? She specifically hunts people who sleep on their backs. With a full stomach. As we will see later, the Brazilians were actually scientifically correct about the full stomach part. So, if it's not a Brazilian witch or a Turkish jinn, what is happening? To understand this experience, we have to look at the architecture of your sleep. When you sleep, you cycle through different stages. The most important one is REM. This is where you dream. In this stage, your brain is incredibly active, almost as active as when you are awake. You are fighting dragons, running from fires, or flying. Now, imagine if your body actually acted out those dreams. You would punch your partner, run into a wall, or jump out of a window. It would be a disaster. So evolution created a safety switch. It's called REM Atonia. Think of it like a child lock for your body. Two chemicals in your brain, GABA and glycine, flood your system and completely paralyze your skeletal muscles. You are mentally flying, but physically, you are turned off. Usually, when you wake up, the brain seamlessly flips the switch back on. The chemicals fade and you move. But in sleep paralysis, the system glitches. Your mind wakes up. You are conscious, but the child lock is still stuck in the on position. The chemicals haven't cleared yet. You are a prisoner in your own body. This state is a hybrid state, a mix of REM dreaming and wakefulness. Okay, so the paralysis is biological. That explains why we can't move. But it doesn't explain the scary part. Why do we see a demon? Why not a bunny? Or a cloud? Why is it almost always a dark, evil presence sitting on our chest? This is where neuroscience becomes especially revealing. First, let's talk about the chest pressure. When you are paralyzed in REM, your breathing is shallow and controlled automatically. But when you wake up, you panic. You try to take a deep, controlled breath. But your ribcage muscles are paralyzed. You can't expand your lungs fully. Your brain detects this resistance. It thinks, I can't breathe. Something is pushing down on me. Your brain hates uncertainty. It needs a story to explain the physical sensation. So it creates a narrative. There is a weight on my chest, therefore someone is sitting on me. This is called the incubus hallucination. But why is it evil? Because of your amygdala. That's the fear center of your brain. When you wake up and can't move, your amygdala goes into overdrive. It screams danger. It enters a state called hypervigilance. It scans the room for threats. Because you are in a dream state mix, your brain projects your worst fears onto the room. A pile of clothes on a chair becomes a crouching monster. It is a loop. You panic, the hallucination gets scarier, and you panic more. This phenomenon is so powerful, it has shaped our history and art. In 1781, the artist Henry Fuseli painted The Nightmare. It shows a woman sleeping, helpless, with a goblin sitting on her chest, and a ghostly horse peeking through the curtain. That horse is actually a pun. The word nightmare comes from the Old English mare, which was a demon that rode on people's chests. But here is a modern twist. In the last 50 years, reports of demons have gone down, but reports of alien abductions have gone up. Think about it. The classic alien abduction story. You wake up in bed. You are paralyzed. You see a strange figure with big eyes standing over you. You feel like you are floating. Many psychologists suggest that some reported abduction experiences may be vivid episodes of sleep paralysis, interpreted through the lens of modern sci-fi culture instead of ancient folklore. So you are stuck in the nightmare. The Pisadeira is on your chest. How do you break free? Fighting it makes it worse. Trying to scream increases the panic chest pressure loop. You need a cheat code. Technique 1. The small muscle. The paralysis affects major muscle groups. But fingers and toes are sometimes less affected. Focus all your mental energy on just wiggling your little toe or clenching your fist. Once a small signal gets through, it often breaks the chemical lock on the rest of the body. Technique 2, the breath. You can't control your arms, but you can control your breathing rate slightly. Focus on calm, rhythmic breathing. This tells your amygdala that you are safe, reducing the hallucinations. Technique 3, prevention. Remember the Brazilian legend about sleeping on a full stomach? They were right. Heavy meals disrupt sleep cycles. And the biggest trigger? Sleeping on your back. Studies show the supine position makes sleep paralysis 3 to 4 times more likely because of how it affects the airway. So, stitch a tennis ball to the back of your pajama shirt if you have to. Just don't roll over. Sleep paralysis is terrifying. It is arguably the most frightening experience a human can have without being in actual danger. But knowing the science takes the weapon away from the monster. Next time you see that shadow, remember, it's not a ghost. It's not an alien. It's your brain trying to protect you, using systems that weren't designed to wake up at the same time. Actually, some people called lucid dreamers use this state on purpose to enter their dreams and fly. But that is a story for another video. Have you ever met the night hag or the Karabasan? Tell me your story in the comments. I read them all. If you learned something new, hit like to help us defeat the algorithm demons. And subscribe for more decoded mysteries. Sleep well, and don't look in the corner.